What is the crack, folks? Ooh, we're on the wonk a bit here, but we'll get there. How are we all keeping? We are on to our next day of painting like there's no tomorrow. And we are still chipping away at the Stormboyz. I'm switching over. There won't be any airbrushing tonight. We'll be mostly painting by brush. And we're hopefully, I'm looking to get at least a base coat on the orc skin done. At least a base coat. And maybe even the Castellan green. So a lot of the jetpacks are Castellan green. We have a unit of commandos as well that's lined up next, but I might have to save that for the weekend when I'm in Dimsgaff. Well, we've plenty to be doing. So we do. We're their Lollipop Stormboyz. We've got the camo uniform done. And it's just about getting different layers painted up without mucking up previous layers. So I figured skin would be next. Then Castellan green. And then after that, the sort of more tedious and meticulous. We'll do the belt buckles on the torso, and then I think the last thing that we'll do will probably be metallics, and then teeth and bones and stuff, if you get me. Nothing special, we're just going for a nice tabletop standard. Not trying to win any golden demons. Greetings, a wild Sai appeared. What is the crack, Sai? How are you? Hobbying away tonight yourself, are you? What are you working on? You still chipping away at that Chinork? Sounds riveting. Boom, boom, psh. Do you like what I did there? The pace is a lot quicker now in regards to getting the skin painted up. It doesn't take as long because we've got the bulk of the mini already painted up. Now, you know, worst case scenario, if we make a mess of certain parts, we can always come back and touch them up, but ideally we really don't want to be, so we're starting to get a little bit more meticulous, a little bit more careful. But if we get it on shoulder pads or the harness straps, that's not the end of the world, because we have yet to paint those parts. We have yet to paint them up. It'll be good crack though. Got 2 packs of rods from Hobby Shop. Finish renting, send a pic to you on Discord regarding weapons question if you have time. I will have a look when I get the time. I will be trucking non-stop on this stream. We're going to throw in until about 11 bells, I reckon. So hopefully another 2 hours. I have to say, this is the most painting I have ever done consecutively. Done a fair bit of painting. I've not painted this much in such a short period of time. In a good while. I don't think I've ever gotten this sort of volume of painting done in this period of time before. Like I was saying on yesterday's stream, we masked off with mask and putty to do a camouflage pattern, but I just found it was just quicker painting on the patterns by hand. We're not looking for anything amazing regarding the Not looking for anything amazing when it comes to the skin, because we're going to be trying to wash over it anyway, so just, you know, a base covering at least is all we're looking for here. We'll throw a wash on. I mean, on a later date, I would ideally like to put some highlights or a dry brush or such, but I don't think we have the time logistically now, so we're going to be looking at miniatures that are you know, tabletop sort of basic standard. At least. I'll be happy enough with that, you know. We also have a unit of commandos that need painting up, so once we get the skin on the Stormboyz, we'll get the skin on the commandos. Keats here. There were 4 packs of Old World Boys at Hobby Shop. I was tempted. Ooh, you're doing 2 weeks of painting in 2 days. Yep, has to be done, man. That's not even including last weekend, where myself and Soy were just... Jesus, how many hours did we get in on the painting last weekend? Because I had the airbrush out, and I think I did at least like 12 or 14 hours of painting. It was a good solid chunk, like. So I pretty much, you know, in the space of a week, worked me full-time job, and then, you know, worked another full-time job nearly of painting orcs. There's a gaming night on tomorrow. I'm going to go and play a game of Leviathan. The really part of me is like, oh, just keep painting, but I'll try and get an hour of painting in. I don't think there'll be a stream tomorrow. I think the next stream that we're going to do is probably going to be in Dim's place on Saturday or Sunday. So there won't be any stream tomorrow, and there won't be any stream on Friday because I will be traveling then. Friday is travel day. I will be traveling to the UK on Friday. So there won't be any streaming then. Get myself to the airport and sort it out. But with the 2 hours with tonight, hopefully we can get the skin mostly sorted. Again, we're trying not to hit areas we've already painted up, so try not to hit the collar. We've already painted up the collar. I mean, worst case scenario, come back and pick out the collar again. If I was to do it again, would I do it differently is what I keep asking myself. Now, where's the tweezers gone? Is that mask and putty on his arm? That is mask and putty on his arm. How quaint. We do not need mask and putty on his arm, because that is covering bare plastic. That would not be ideal. Keith is saying, I usually do it backwards, then I'll do 2 days painting in 2 weeks. Well, like, for my pace, this is unprecedented, the amount of painting I'm doing, but it's because I've got an event coming up, you know what I mean? And the rest of the guys are going to have fully painted armies. So I need to get the finger out, like, you know what I mean? I did a bit of prep work, you know, but I was very slow. I don't know what it was. I had sort of a creative block in regards to building the flight stands or the bases for the Stormboyz, but they were built by the start of this month, but we didn't have any paint on any of them going into April. And what are we we're day 7 in. Oof. So it's a race for Monday. Next Monday is when it all needs to be painted. We're supposed to build a Chinook Copter. That ain't gonna happen, realistically speaking. It would have to be an absolute miracle to get a Chinook built and painted between now and then. But thankfully, we have our good friend Soy, who's going to supply us with one. for the event. Which would be grand. Oh, man overboard. I literally have a whole cup of these guys, and I'm just transferring them. As I do the skin, I'm transferring them from one cup. So I'm taking the boys, painting them on the skin, and transferring them over to another cup that I have. And then once that's done, it's on to the next thing. So we are batch painting, my friends. We are batch painting. We are doing Death World Forest as the base color. That's the base color of the flesh. We'll be doing the Vallejo Model Wash, dark green, to give it a green wash. If you don't do Vallejo Model Wash, Italian Camo Shade also works. I might try and use up all of my Italian Camo Shade. That's a GW wash. I have some of that as well. They're pretty much like the same tone, so it's not too bad. It's pretty good actually. So we'll hit it with a wash after the fact. But what I want to do is I want to get the base coat of the skin done, and I want to get the base coat of any of the green parts. So the mechanical parts, the jetpack on the front of the harness, the shoulder pads, and the jetpacks themselves are all going to be in Castellan green. And then once that's done, I can actually throw a green wash over both of those areas. So we'll green wash the skin, we'll green wash the Castellan green areas. Basically, it's like a military green. And it works. I would have thought initially that green camouflage on green miniatures would have looked weird. But if you do the tones different, it looks pretty fine. And tonally, like my orcs are fairly sort of neutral or light skinned, and that works pretty well, as opposed to the sort of more traditional dark skin color, or not as neutral toned, not as muted, natural sort of skin color, I suppose. I think that would have, if I was the skin color for the orcs was different, then that would sort of clash with the Castellan green, because tonally it would be very similar. Whereas you can see the difference here. And this is the base color for the orcs as well. I actually highlighted it up lighter again usually. But I don't have that paint to hand. But we'll keep on trucking. 30 Stormboyz, 10 commandos. There's 5 knobs in the unit. And then we're either taking Zagstruck or Snickrot, whichever miniature I can find. And we've 3 Death Copters. 3 the old school, the Salt and Blackreach Death Copters. They're half painted but in dire need of repair. I need to find bases for them as well. So the bases will need to be done. So there's a fair bit of work that will need to be done over this coming weekend. A fair bit of work. But again, like I said, I'll be in Dim's gaff, but I will stream from Dim's. I'll set it up and we'll get some streams going. Sure, why not? But we're Wednesday now. We're going to go for 2 hours. We're going to get as much as we can done. I think life would have been a bit easier if I didn't have as many infantry, but I keep doing this. I keep making infantry heavy lists. I suppose that's sort of what I've always liked with Warhammer. I've always liked infantry heavy lists. They seem more kind of realistic to me, if you get what I mean. I'm not really into small elite armies. They just don't seem that realistic to me. And by realistic, I mean, like, you know, if you're invading a planet, it's not going to be garrisoned by Space Marines. Usually, the Space Marines are the tip of the spear, the guys who do the assaults and stuff like that. So, you know, you're most likely going to be fighting Imperial Guard. I think that's why I like Imperial Guard as well, because they're just the foot sloggers. I think we're nearly there. What is that? Don't tell me that's some more masking putty. We're finding putty everywhere. What's this? No idea, but it needs to come off before we get to the shoulder parts section. Yeah, will do. What's everybody else's record like? Like, do most people like? I reckon most people paint a hell of a lot more than I do. This is just right now is kind of an exception. Normally I don't paint this much. That much I do now. So like, how often do other people paint? Or he's getting a few hours in. Mark's here. What's happening, Mark? Is this where Mark gives out to me because I'm doing a stream instead of being in a Discord chat with him that we normally do on a Wednesday? That sounds a bit on par for Mark. What's happening, Mark? How goes your progress? I'm just getting content out whilst painting a shedload of orcs. 2 nights in a row now, or is it 3 nights in a row? I think it's 2 nights in a row. 2 nights in a row? I'm starting to lose track of the days, I really am. All I'm doing is either painting orcs, thinking about painting orcs, or deciding what way to paint orcs. It's like, should I do the skin first, or will we do the remain of the camouflage? Maybe the uniform. What metals should we do in regards to the gun? Just trying to, it's interesting sort of challenge, trying to figure out the logistics of painting a whole batch of miniatures. What way is going to be the quickest and still sort of get base coats on and stuff. It does have its own sort of unique challenges. But we'll get there, I reckon we'll get there. If nothing else, I hope to have the Stormboyz done by the weekend. I think the commandos will be easy enough. Like the bulk of the army. So what are we looking at? We're looking at 30 infantry for the Stormboyz. We're looking at the 10 commandos. That's 40 infantry. We've 5 knobs. I think there's the WAB. I think the WAB honor knobs in the list as well. I'd have to dig up the list. See what I have exactly. And then I think of one character, either Zagstruct or Snickrot. Now I know I need to dig them up and find where those miniatures are, belong to me. I think Zagstruct would match the army more since it's mostly airborne. So if I say he hardly paints much as I don't play regular, but saying that I've painted 15 bikes, so hopefully soon as copped it, I'm not doing too bad. Usually paint in bursts and then play PC games for 6 months. Tommy was saying that he builds a lot, but he rarely ever paints. I can get that. I enjoyed the build aspect. I had fun myself with chopping and changing some of these guys. Like this guy's got a Warhammer Fantasy Orc mace, and then he's got like a beret. So there was a bit of chopping and changing on half of this squad. The other half was built like back in 2009 and just, you know, saw a little bit of paint a year and a half ago. But otherwise, you know, I used to just play with these guys primed black all the time. I didn't see the point in putting too much effort into painting my orcs back in the day because I'd be taking them off by the fistful, like, you know. So I just did not see the point in putting a lot of effort into them. Whereas now, I don't really play 40k as much anymore, but when I do, when we're doing battle reports, it's like you want them to look nice for the battle report. You know what I mean? The sort of visual spectacle. If it wasn't for the fact that we're doing battle reports, I wouldn't be bothered, man. I wouldn't be bothered with them, really. I enjoy the 40k orcs. They're still fun, but I've a load of mechs I want to paint up. You know what I mean? more interested in painting me mechs up, which is what I will be doing after this. I'll see if there's any mechs I need to paint for any upcoming events. Yeah, painting's hard. Yeah, man, painting is, it's fine. Well, you can see how people kind of get lost in it. It's good crack, but yeah, it can be hard if you've not planned it out. I find if I haven't planned it out, that it can take me a long time to paint. Or in general, it takes me a long time to paint stuff. Glacial pace painting is usually what I use to describe my standard of painting, or the speed at least. And a nice tabletop standard. You know? Looks good. Nothing too meticulous, you know. Wouldn't want people picking up the miniatures and scrutinizing them, you know what I mean? They're not that amazing, but they are, you know, they look good as a whole, which is the effect I go for. And, you know, once they do that, then I'm happy out. Sai is saying, who the fuck messaged me? Did it? Phones are a pain in my hood. Apologies. So I was saying, it is worth doing for when you play two painted armies on a nice board. Looks right. It really does. Two fully painted armies on like some fully painted terrain just looks really good. That sort of visual spectacle, like that is what got us into the game. We didn't see bare plastic miniatures or just primed miniatures being played with and go, ooh, that looks great. I want to get into that. We saw painted armies when we were looking to get into the game. That's what got us all started. That eye candy, it does look great, I have to say. For most of my gaming career, I did not give a rat's about painted armies. I think that was because the Games Workshop I was in changed their policy when I was a teenager. So initially when I started playing, you weren't allowed to play with unpainted armies. Or if you bought an army, you had to show progress. You had to show painting progress. So like if you started an army, you had to have more of it painted by the time you went in the next time round. And then they dropped that policy and you were just allowed to play with unpainted miniatures. And I think that was detrimental, because I remember specifically I was playing Tomb Kings and Warhammer Fantasy back in the day. And I remember specifically recruiting one of my friends just to help me base coat the skeletons. Just to help me dry brush some of them. Because I had loads of them to do. They were the old skeletons. I enjoyed them. But I remember I used to paint them Chaos Black and then dry brush them in Bestial Brown. And then give them a lighter dry brush then after that in Bleach Brown. And it was grand, but it was just hassle. I used to paint their shields, so their army color was Fenris Grey, because I had Space Wolves as well, so that was I liked that color, so that was the army color, and it looked good. Looked decent, you know what I mean? But I sold that army off years ago. But then some of my later Warhammer Fantasy armies, like my Dwarf army, barely any paint on any of them, really. Could all do with being painted up. There was one or two units I think I painted up half decently. I do specifically remember enjoying painting the Slayers. And I had a lot of characters for them, so Giant Slayers, Dragon Slayers. I think I had the Slayer King. I didn't have Long Drong's Slayer Pirates though. I wish I'd have gotten them. They looked cool. But I like playing dwarfs. Because people be like, you're not playing them properly. You're just supposed to sit there as a gun line. You know, your Slayers hold the flank. And I'd be like, nah. We're charging forward. I'd have cannons and ball throwers and stuff like that. And I'd soften up some of the units. And then about halfway through the game, this immovable wall of dwarves all of a sudden would start marching towards you. Or steamrolling you. And people are like, huh? It's like, yep. We're coming for you. We're not just standing here and taking a baiting. It was fun. I used to have great pleasure in using gyrocopters to get the fanatics, which are goblins that have been fed like madcap mushrooms and given ball and chains. So they used to release out of the units and just cause chaos on anything that they hit. But I used to love getting my gyrocopter and placing it behind the unit, and it was an automatic movement that they had to do. I used to love playing Night Goblins. They were great crack. And they'd have to release them from the unit, so they'd release behind their own lines, and they would, they'd bounce around everywhere, and it would be madness. But it was good crack. You'd have the black orcs. They were always hard as nails. You'd have a good fight with them. With your iron breakers or what other elite units you had. You'd send in your elite units against their elite units, and you know, there'd be bleeding carnage. It'd be great crack. Time Max saying I struggle in on a paint scheme I like for an entire army, so I put it off, especially skin. Yeah, it can be hard, man, but once you find what skin you're happy with. Like for me, I think it was the same for a very long time. I didn't find a skin recipe I was happy with. And then one of me mates from Australia told me about a skin recipe, and I slightly modified it. I liked the look of it, but then I slightly modified it myself. And then I use a variation of this skin recipe on different units. So knobs get a darker base, and they end up highlighted in this color. Whereas the boys get this as a base color, and then there's another slightly lighter skin tone that is used as the highlight after the wash. And then that highlight color is used as the base color for the Gretchen. So while I don't paint them the same colors, like the base coat for the Gretchen is the highlight for the orcs, and the base coat for the orcs is the highlight for the knobs, so they get darker. And then I've the war bosses and characters and such, they're darker again, I think, if I remember correctly, because that's part of the lore. And then visually it sort of ties them all together as well, the same sort of tones across the army. Works really well. Well, on what stuff I do have painted, it works really well. What's I saying? For basic boys, pants dark brown, light brown, dry brush, skin dark green, lighter green, dry brush, short, colour of clan choice, straps brown, light brown edges, that'll do for tabletop. Ah, totally, Si. Metal for your weapons and you're laughing. Okay, didn't think that'd work. Yeah, of course. I always wanted to take it next level and stressed about painting. That takes me forever. Love those fanatics so much. They were great fun. Yeah, no, it's like painting these guys. I know I'm not going to get these guys 100% painted, but I'll get them like 80% painted. I'll get them like a nice tabletop standard isn't finished in my eyes. You know what I mean? But is finished enough to play with. So I need to know when to call it. So I know I'm not really going to be doing dry brushes or super edge highlights with these guys. I'll have to come back at a later date and finish that off. So like all the straps and stuff like that will just be base colors and washes. I'm not gonna edge highlight them this time around. And then I'll want to do object source lighting. I don't think I'm gonna get around to doing it for the event now. But I'll want to do like object source lighting off their jetpacks on the back of them. and I'll get around to doing that eventually. But it's managing, it's managing the project and going, yeah, that's gonna happen, but it's not gonna happen now, and I'll just want to get them to a nice tidy standard of base colors and washes where it's good enough to play with. You know what I mean? Because I find once you've got the base color and the wash on it, that tends to be good enough to play with. Doesn't look amazing. It's not finished, but it'll do. It's good enough to get a game in with, and it's good enough that the army as a whole looks decent. Because remember, we're looking for a sum of the parts effect. So each individual unit may not be meticulous, and when you pick it up, you know, it's probably not blowing your socks off. But if we take into account a load of those miniatures together, they'll look decent. You know what I mean? Like the visual spectacle on the tabletop looks good. That's the plan. That's the plan anyway. Mostly Zen has joined. What is the crack? And what indeed? Oh, so our cup of non-skin painted orcs is getting smaller, and our cup of skin painted orcs is getting bigger. Or, well, filling. So we still have we've a good few. I might as well throw them all here and then replace them, because we'll be moving on to Castellan Green next after this. We still have about a third of them to do the skin on, but it's just going through planning out your paint scheme so that you can paint over any messes with the next stage, if you get me. Paint more to squeak, catapult and crew tonight. Well, you've been keeping yourself busy as well, I see. Good man yourself. That's Castellan Green. We'll hold on to that for the we will hold on to that for our military colours. I have a whole drawer of Citadel paint that I generally don't use quite a lot. I'm trying to remember what paints is it Elysian Green? I'm trying to remember what ones I use for highlights. So like this is a boy that's done. So it's like a base coat. Base coat's this green wash, and I think Dead World Forest. I bought loads of Dead World Forest. So a Dead World Forest, and then what am I looking for? It's not Dead Guard. It's Ogren Camo, is it? Oh, I think Ogren Camo is the grots. I think, yeah. So the grots are highlighted. So hold on, we'll get the skin colors out here. So Ogren Camo is like the highlight. So that's the Gretchen. I know the Gretchen are Ogren Camo, right? So that's the high color. So it's Ogren Camo for the Gretchen, but the highlight for these guys, I think it's Elysian Green is what we're doing. Yeah. So Elysian Green. So for the likes of the grots, we'll have Elysian Green base, a green wash, and then Ogren Camo highlight. For the boys, we use like Death World Forest. We give it a green wash, and then we use the Elysian Green as the highlight. And then for the likes of knobs and characters, for the base, we go darker again. So we go Death Core Drab, give that a wash, Death World Forest then, and then like if they're characters, we'll give them maybe like an Elysian Green, like edge highlight. So we use these four colours across the various units. But like I said, we won't be going mad on the highlighting today. I can guarantee you that we've that much to be keeping us going. We're looking for base coats and we're looking for washes. That's the name of the game that we're up to. Base coats and washes, folks. So we'll put the Gretchen away. Note to self: don't commit yourself to painting a whole new army before an event. It sounds entertaining at the time, but boy, Jesus. Where's the Lauren Forest? There's Lauren Forest as well. I have so many greens, man. I have so many. I'm like, which green did I use for this? Was it this one? Was it that one? So many greens. But definitely Death World Forest everywhere. You've given up on highlighting, Zen. Poor Tom's given up on highlighting. What have you given up on highlighting? Just not a steady hand, or too much effort, or what's the story there? You've had enough of it. I mean, it's an extra stage, but it tends to help. I tend to only do it for like knobs or characters or boss knobs or stuff if I do bother to do it. Otherwise, yeah, it can be a bit like. Could you imagine trying to like edge highlight 30 Stormboyz? But you know, jeez, it would take you months, man, to paint up to that standard. And game wise, you know, putting all that effort in wouldn't really be reflected on the board in my eyes. Yeah, they'd look great all of the 2 minutes that they'd be on the board. I think that's part of the problem that I have is you put this much effort into miniatures, and because of the way the game works, it's like if you don't get to go first with the I go you go mechanics, like you could have your miniatures could literally be on the board for like your opponent's turn, and that's it. You might not even get to use them. That's, you know what I mean? That's a bit disheartening to me. I think the game mechanics for Warhammer need to be changed massively. I think they need to do either like simultaneous damage or simultaneous activation, or I move, you move. You know what I mean? Something like that, or maybe something like what Bolt Action does, where I move, shoot, and attack with a unit, then you move, shoot, and attack with one unit, or you know what I mean? Something like that. I mean, Battle Taker works really well because there's different phases. It's like, you know, all the damage happens in a phase. So if we, maybe that would be maybe that's a potential answer. If it was all done in phases, you know, the damage phase, you just mark down damage on units, and at the end of the turn, you know, you'll both note down your damage phase or whatever. I think something like that needs to happen to 40k because it's just crazy otherwise. And they scaled the game down as well, so it's more of a big skirmish game now because, you know, max unit of boys is 20, max unit of grots is 20. They've reduced the max size of units. They brought, you know, the cheapest points units they brought up in points cost as well. You know what I mean? So they've made it sort of a large skirmish game in that regard. And they've made the board smaller as well. You know, it's not just 6x4s or 8x4s all the time. So if you're saying, chat, don't listen to them, commit to a new army, just manage your time better. I mean, that would probably help. Is yeah, I've had like several months and I just haven't. Highlighting takes so long, especially on curved surfaces like working muscles. It does. It takes a year and a bleeding day. Tom, you're right there. It takes forever. And it's taken long enough just to get base coats on these guys. So, like I said, there won't be any super highlighting. When there's normally like an open melt like this as well on this guy, I do waft flesh usually. My thinking on it being that their skin and their flesh is green. So, like, their inner mouth would be a darker green, if you get me. I know some people do them in actual flesh color as opposed to just green, but that's just the way I paint them up. That's my headcanon. The The weapons, I think I'm just gonna do them like a base metal, just like bog standard metal. Nothing sophisticated. Just a metal with a wash. Maybe just like a brown wash or whatever. Whatever I have knocking around. The Castellan green as well. I'll give it a green wash, but like ultimately, if I was finishing them 100%, I'd come back in. I'd give them some sponge weathering. Weather them up with a sponge. And come in and pick out and, you know, do it that way. But that would take forever, man. That would take weeks. And I don't have weeks. I have days. So it's literally one base coat and done. Trying to get in under the arms. You can see the likes of this guy I know from just painting him, looking at his pose. This guy's an old Stormboyz. So this guy would have been built back in 2009. So what? How old is he now? What are we? 20, 24? Yeah, so this guy was built 15 years ago. And I've only put the silencer on him recently. But this base build on this would have been 15 years ago. Because you can see it's a very static pose. It's not very open, not very dynamic. Whereas some of the newer ones that I've done, because I knew I was cutting them off of their bases and rebasing them, they're a lot more dynamic. So, well, for example, this one. If you compare this pose, it's a lot more sort of dynamic than the last guy, who's very, very static. If you see in the posing, even the way their heads are and stuff. So knowing what way you're going to base them as well helps with the posing, because I know that their mounting point is going to be on from their jetpack and not from their feet anymore. So you know that gives you another angle to pose them from if you turn them slightly on the jetpack, you know. But they'll look class. The Undying King saying, time to make the boys green. Indeed, that is what we're doing. And a contrast paint does just a good job for me. Oh yeah, man, go for it. Contrast paint all the way. I mean, if I hadn't started painting these before contrast were out, I'd probably just do like zenithal highlighting and then just contrast the bleeding socks off of everything and not really care, because it would be so much quicker. But I've already got an established paint style and paint technique, so I'm just sticking with it. You know what I mean? But if it was to start over, yeah. Speed paints, contrast paints, a lot of those products. You could get them painted up really quickly. But like I said, I've already committed myself to the old base wash and highlight method, which is fine for now. It's not as quick, but it's not too bad. The pace is alright. You get quicker at it as well. Like camouflage, I can bang out a decent camouflage pattern pretty quickly. And that's just from building up the technique of how to paint with the brush and what patterns look half decent. You know what I mean? They're faux camo. I don't pick out an actual camo color and try and replicate it, because some of the actual like fleck tarn and stuff like that, like some of them are very technical, whereas I'm just looking for a camouflage effect more so than anything else. So I'm not too bothered about the pattern that they're in. As long as the end effect is decent. Green everywhere. So again, we hope to get green on all the skin. And then a wash. I'm looking at the time. We're 45 minutes into streaming. We might get all the base coats of skins done. Washing will be quicker. Washing tends to be quicker. I reckon we'll get the base coats on for the skin at least. And then we'll wash both. We'll wash the Castellan green areas. Wash the Castellan green and we'll wash the flesh. And it should be grand then. I mean, ideally, you just want to like paint everything a base color and then just hit it with one unified wash. That would all tie it all together visually as well. So just give it like all a brown wash or whatever sort of color would work well. But for the skin, I do a green wash. I don't do a brown wash. A little bit of tidying we have to do because of the collar area, but it's all right. Right. That's this one done, I think. Boom. Done. Next guy. So if I was saying, Cookie Stomp a one-shot kill on turn 1, half his army disappeared in the mushroom cloud. It was brilliant. Oh, God. Stop reminding me. I bought 3 contrast paints today to try out in the wood grain Wild West buildings. Ooh, okay. What ones did you go for, Tommy? The old slap chop effect. What's Tom saying? Using flesh for slap and chop or plague bearer flesh, then Bealtown wash. Oh, alright. I think I have them. My contrast paints are a bit weird though, because they're like. Where are they? They're all. Like this is. What's this? This is Gulliman's flesh. And look at it like. I'm sure if I give it a proper mix, maybe. But there's usually like a powder at the end. Or weird residue. But there's a load of them. I like this one. This one looks hilarious. This was a nice conversion as well. So the berets, the berets came off of Spellcrow miniature heads. I liked the hats. I didn't like the face sculpts, if you get me. And the face for this guy is off the biker set, if I remember correctly. It was just a case of cutting the beret off with a very sharp blade from the Spellcrow head. Spellcrow miniature head, and then just filing down this one until the two of them married up very nicely. And it looks good. I think I'll do their berets in like red or something. Or depending on the unit like. Because we're going to have a red, blue and gold squad. I was trying to figure out how to denote the differences between the squads, you know what I mean, without it being something subtle. I don't want to go too crazy. So maybe like a shoulder pad or something, or a I think the nose cone will be a bit much. Maybe like a stripe on the nose, color wise. Maybe that would be a good idea. Or do a circle of color decal wise. But ultimately that's the goal. Whether I get that finished or not this week before the event is another thing, but details like that I might have to hold off on for now. Maybe just put a bit on the edge of the base or something like that. Because with 30 Stormboyz, it is going to be busy on the battlefield, boys. It is going to be busy on the battlefield. I also have no basic infantry, so I have no boys, and I have no beast snagger boys, so I have no like objective secured units. Gretchen don't have objective secured at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see what the new codex is like. I'm still in two minds as to whether to bother to buy the new codex or not. You know what I mean? I might get it, I might not. Like, I barely used the last one when I bought it, so I don't know really. I am undecided, to be honest. I mean, if you're just buying them for the sake of collecting them, you're actually better off waiting until the next codex comes out to buy the previous codex, because a lot of people will be shelling them off for little or nothing. And that's the problem with Games Workshop books in my eyes, is they don't retain value. So there's no point in buying the limited edition codex, because like if they just devalue as soon as you like take them out of the store and use them, or as soon as you just have them, they just devalue so quickly. It's ridiculous. They really do. And I mean, they FAQ and errata them like all the time. It's like, well, just get it right the first time. You know what I mean? When it's going out to publish, just get it right then, man. You know what I mean? Like, mistakes happen, I get that, but I think it's just lazy writing. Stuff's rushed out. So there's not enough time to go over things properly. And stuff is never proofread. Jesus. Is it never proofread? But we're getting there. We are getting there. These are going to look sweet when they're done. I'm looking forward to having them painted up on under bases, because they are going to look sweet. These songs here. Colored silence suppressor. Maybe. What's the crack, decent? I haven't decided what color to do their guns. Like, part of me is tempted to try another military color. Maybe a Zandri Dust or something like that, like a military color, or just do them a generic military sort of grey, or because I'd find that funny where it's like their jetpacks are all one military color, the uniforms are an urban camo, and then all their weapons were found in a stash somewhere else, and maybe they're like desert camo, and then just ship them, if you get me. That would be funny. Undecided though. Or the argument of the silencer or suppressor. I think it depends who you talk to. Some people are very pedantic about it. Or like, it's a suppressor. I'm like, or it's a silencer. Either or. They both mean the same thing. You know? But don't be upsetting people, so you put down that wooden spoon now. Stop storing that pot. Would it be cool if I had gotten my hands on a Dakajet? Because a lot of my miniatures are in storage and I just wasn't able to access them. I did try and get access to them. I just wasn't able to. They're locked away in sheds. And I couldn't find the keys for the shed, and I wasn't in the mood to get a bolt cutter to them and have to replace locks and all this type of stuff. But I've got like jets, like Daka jets, Born Bombers and stuff. I think this army would have, like, a Born Bomber would have been nice, because I have an idea of how to mount a Born Bomber. So the way we have like we have the plumes for these guys, I've an idea for a Borna bomber where instead of obviously like when you fire the missile with these guys, when you fire the rocket with these guys, they're going up. So if it was a Borna bomber, you could use like you could have a bomb coming down or a rocket being fired down, and then use that as a mounting point for the aircraft, so you don't have to use a flying stand. I think that would be really cool. Something interesting. It's something I want to try with some of the Battletech dropships when they come out. There's going to be map scale dropships, so they'll be small enough. Like, I'd like to do clump foliage sort of stands for them as well. I think that'd be cool. I think they'll look mint with that. If you imagine like the dropship coming down and then just like being suspended on a smokestack or launching mid-game or something. It'd be pretty cool. I like the effect. I think it looks really good. I was looking for something that wasn't cotton wool, and I know there's like cotton wool and LED lights and stuff like that, and I just wasn't bothered faffing with it. I just want to have something I can just throw in the carry case with the rest of the stuff and not have to worry about batteries being flat or not, or something a bit hardy that can take a few knocks as well. So like the clump foliage, once it's, you know what I mean, painted up, after you've sealed it and once it's painted up, it you know, becomes robust enough. It can take a knock or two. Where some of the other smoke effects, yeah, people might think they look better, but I actually quite like this smoke effect. And it's something I've wanted to do forever. And here we are, 15 years later, finally getting around to doing the effect that I wanted to do. Green on his gob. All the green. Yeah. I think we're going to have to go back and get more paint because this is a bit watered down for my likings. Coverage wise. It's a muffler! I'm surprised it's not a baffle. You ever see people who put like they're like Coke cans basically on the ends of it? Because when we were in airsoft, I remember that years and years ago playing airsoft, guys would put these like baffles on the ends of their airsoft guns to make them louder. That'd be the sort of thing I would expect. I mean, if I could have figured out a way to do it without making it look, without it looking terrible, I would have thought like silencers or suppressors on the end of the jetpacks would have been hilarious. But I just couldn't think of a way visually to get people to know what it is straight away without sort of ruining the visual of them, if you get me. Because if you flare it out, they'll just think it's an extra jet engine or whatever. And if you just have a tube, it'll look weird. You know? You'll just be like, why is there... Yeah. It just wouldn't look right, if you get me. So trying to do a conversion that someone understands like straight away at a glance what they're looking at. Sometimes like with the ideas, it's kind of hard to actually execute that. Now where's the green we're looking for? Death World Forest. This one doesn't look open. There's more. There's more of them, yeah. Makes me think they should all be painted super shiny chrome. Adding paints to the shopping list, Jesus. I have to say, I've bought a fair few supplies myself the past couple of weeks just to keep going. Mostly for the airbrush, like cleaning supplies and stuff like that. Like I've gone through pretty much a whole bottle, and I've bought another one today. It's the AK cleaner. It's a bigger bottle than what I was using, but I've pretty much like, this bottle was full. This airbrush cleaner. I've had this years and years and years, but it's like it's nearly gone. It's nearly gone, man. So yeah, using up hobby supplies, it's for someone who doesn't paint that often, it's a bit of a strange phenomenon for myself. Like our bottle of black primer, that's nearly gone as well. We just use so much of it. Where is it? This one. That's barely. I'd say it's got about that much left in the bottle. Like priming the absolute bejesus out of everything. Everything. Especially those these guys. These guys took like multiple coats from multiple different angles. Like these guys like took up a lot of paint. I used a lot of black paint on these, but they look cool, you know. They look pretty damn cool. I might do a tutorial video after the meetup if people are interested, because I've been asked by a couple of people like how did you make them? I've been asked in the Facebook group how did you make them, or I had one guy ask me if they were 3D prints, which I suppose is a really good compliment. You know what I mean? Like the effect looks so good. Someone was like, "Oh, is that a 3D print?" I thought that was that spoke volumes. That means that, you know, the visual effect looks good enough. But yeah, I think I might do a. Here's how to do smoke plumes, Scarnier style. I mean, if people are interested, I don't know if people would be interested. Would you be interested? Would you like to see a tutorial video? I generally don't do them, but you know, there's a first time for everything. I'm just trying to think ahead to like Saturday and Sunday when I'm in DIMS, and it's just gonna be, man, it's just gonna be caffeine powered painting madness. It really is. I already know, like, Saturday's definitely gonna be a late night. Sunday may be a late night as well, I reckon. I'm gonna be sick of holding the paintbrush by the end of this week. And I mean, we're arriving on the Monday. I don't think we're doing any games on the Monday. I might even be. Do you know what? I might even be painting on the Monday. Just go, go, go. Non-stop. Get painting and don't stop painting. They do look very cool, Scar. Thanks, Tom. Do it, says Tommy. You can make roundish explosions and call them bomb squeaks. Well, I did sort of. I did artillery shells. So these are small artillery shells for Battletech, where it's like you place on the table and it's like an explosion. And I did. I'm sure you have seen the flat ones, which are like exploding tank turrets. That's what I experimented with first. But yeah, you could do bomb squig. You could definitely do a bomb squig. I mean, if I was doing a bomb squig, I'd probably actually get a bomb squig and break him up so that he was like partially exploding, if you get me. So you'd have like chunks of bomb squig in the explosion itself. So there'd be bits of gore and flesh. That's, you know, that's what I'm thinking you'd do. There'd be bits of bomb, like literally at the moment he detonated, a split second before he spread all over the battlefield. That'd be cool. Sounds hilarious. But did I make my bomb squig? Did I make my bomb squig for that unit? I think I did. Where is the bomb squig for these guys? Or did I forget to paint them? I know I didn't build the distraction grot. I need to go back and build the distraction grot. Oh, look, I forgot Forgot to prime the bomb squeak. Now, if I was getting him to explode, I'd actually chop him into, like... I'd cut him up into several bits. So, like, maybe his head... I mean, he's hollow on the inside. He is hollow on the inside, so you could just... have the explosions going off. And just have... Like, I'd expand them out. I'd chop them up and expand them out. And then have the explosion just... pluming out of him, if you get me. Just as he detonates. Sounds hilarious. And it's a bomb squeak. It's no great loss to the orcs. There's plenty more where that came from. Plenty more where that came from. I think practicality wise, I think that's all the painting on this guy. He's got a big old gob with a stick bomb in it. We're just making sure we're getting the angles you can see. I remember years ago being advised by one of my friends at the time that paintbrushes are like light. They travel in straight lines, so there's no point in trying to paint something that you can't see. We are tipping away. We have, this is 6, one more, 7. We're doing all right. Now this one was a bit more of an extensive conversion, so I actually cut this head out. This was one of the Stormboyz, and I wasn't exactly happy with how it fit in the end, but I cut his head back. And backfilled, I hollowed out that helmet. So there was a face in it, but I hollowed out the helmet. Just literally like cut it with a hobby saw. That Tamiya saw I have, it's a really big saw, but it's actually really easy to control and it's really good. And you can see there's a bit of a gap on the back of his head where it didn't connect as well as I want, but sure. I mean, worst case scenario, you can see that gap there on the back of his head, but so that's the face there, and that's the helmet. So maybe I'll come back with a bit of Vallejo plastic putty or whatever. But for now, it'll do. So yeah, cool conversion, but boy Jesus, that took like a half an hour to do. To just put that face in that helmet. At least a half an hour, maybe even 40 minutes. Really cool conversion, but not very efficient time wise, which is the focus of our hobby at the moment. Keep moving my microphone up and away from my voice. It kind of helps if I'm speaking into the mic. I'm sure it helps massively. I don't bother with wet palettes because I don't paint often enough. Anytime I use a wet palette and I do painting and then it sits there for months and it gets moldy on me. So I just don't bother with wet palettes. I mean, yeah, things would be better, the paints would last longer, but like I said, I just don't paint often enough to justify the effort of either buying one or sorting one out or whatever. They always end up moldy on me. Because it'll be weeks or literally months between painting sessions. Like, I don't paint that often. I don't paint often enough to justify owning one. If you get me. If painting on the plane, however, over Beware Turbulence, like this one did one of his Stormboyz. Well, on the plane? That'd be cool. I suppose you could get away with doing base colours on an aircraft, but I mean, if they let you through security with your paintbrushes and your paints, then yeah. That would be hilarious. Yeah, that bit's done, the collar's done, around the neck's done, the head. the other arm. I actually prefer when more of the orc is skin, because when you're painting the skin up, if it's more the model, you'll get more of the model painted up quicker, if you get me. So maybe less detail is quicker. Because I noticed with the grots are smaller miniatures, yes, but once you get like the skin done on the grots, that's like 90% of the miniature done. If you only just paint the skin on your grots, like they look half decent already. So if you primed them black and only painted the skin and didn't get any paint on the rest of them, you know what I mean? Do the skin, do metal on their guns, and, you know, decent. That's decent then, you're laughing at that stage. You get pretty quick coverage with them. Committing cardinal sins, going back and putting paints on areas before they're fully dry. But hey ho, we're not trying to win a golden demon. We are trying to get a painted army. Because these guys are getting one base coat and done. And then it's on to the washes. See, newer one. This is one of the newer poses, more dynamic. I think that's a knob pistol off the boy squad. This hand has been chopped and glued on here and repositioned. I don't think, yeah, a hand there I think is a different hand. So I think that might have been the pointing arm or something like that. And then I put like a bit of plastic card there with the tubing. So not like super extensive conversions, but enough little sort of tweaks onto the miniatures to give them a bit more of a dynamic pose. Seems to open them up a lot. Makes a world of a difference. But it really helps with the older kits, because you can chop and change and take arms from one kit and put onto another one, or cut a gun off of an arm and put it onto a different hand, to just to give some sort of visual variation, instead of, because of 30 of them, like, you know what I mean, if I just used the Stormboy kit, it would get very samey very quickly, if you get me. Whereas if you have like a decent bits box, you know, from the bikers or Luda heads or Born a Boy heads, or maybe even a mech head or something, or going crazy and carving a face off and then putting a different head in that helmet, you know what I mean? Just a bit of variation. There's a lot of chopping and changing you can do with the older kits that apparently isn't too user friendly on the newer ones. I have not bothered with building the Beast Snagger Boys myself yet. But a lot of people are not happy with that new boys kit. They are really not happy with it. I wonder if the old boys kit is going to go the way of the dodo this time around. I still have a few boxes in DIMS that I need to bring back with me and add to my stash. I think I'm going to have to check in an extra bag on the way back to bring back the 40k stuff that I have stashed away in his gaff. I have done for quite some time now. There's a good few Gorka Morka bits. We're going to do Gorka Morka at the next War Boss meet next year. That'll be cool, man. I look forward to that. That's a decent game. You'll have a lot more fun conversion wise. I don't know what mob I'd do. I like the grots. Like, I've loads of rebel grots already, because all my grots are painted up as rebel grots. So I have a shed load of grots, and I also have like spare grot bodies. So if I had a grot and it took a wound, I could just chop and change and convert them up, give them peg legs and convert them or whatever. You know what I mean? That's doable. That's not the end of the world. And still hold on to the original model, if you know what I mean. Or I could just do orcs. Gorkers or morkers. I think I have muties even. I don't have many diggers. That much I do know. There ain't many diggers in my collection. I think I have a few, but I don't have a lot. But maybe even the muties might be decent faction. Clint arrived. Whee! What's the crack? Exploding Stormboyz is an S3 thing. Now, Decent did a Stormboy exploding with arms and legs sticking out of the cloud. Ah, that sounds hilarious. Decent, remember the exploded Stormboy is awesome. What's the story? I just bought some Stormboyz and Savage Orcs for that reason. Love to do a grot mob, says Clint. Oh, go for it, man. Why not? I have some of the old vehicles. Like I have a good few of the old Gorka Morka bits. So I think that's what would tempt me is the cutters and the slugger. Was it the slugger? The grot vehicles, they were pretty cool. Or you can just do new vehicles as well, like whatever you want to do, you know. New vehicles, new conversions, but you'd have to bring like brushes and spare bits with you when you come over. Like you'd have to when you're playing it, because like as people take wounds, you'd have to paint them up, and then like you wouldn't just bring your mob, you'd have to bring a mob and then a spare knob kit with you, and probably like a spare boys kit with you to chop and change things up. You know what I mean? So I think that'd be the interesting thing with a Gorka Morka campaign is in between the rounds there would be conversions and paint jobs done up and rivalries, and like I reckon you could probably get 2 games of Gorka Morka in each day. So if you did like a 5-day thing, like you could get 10 games in. I mean, that's a pretty good campaign. Like a early session after breakfast, break for lunch, do any conversions and upkeep that's needed, and paint jobs, and then an evening session before dinner, and then done and dusted. And just get shit faced, you. Or I mean, if you really pushed it, you might get like another mission in late. So if you did like 5 days, you'd be doing 15 each. Depends how many of yous there are. But 2, you could easily do 2. 2 a pop. Someone put a pot in the Gorka Morka section of Discord. He'd made all the scenery in plastic art. It looks amazing. Nice. Need to know the rules so that I know what to make. That sounds incredible. Right up my street. Sounds much better than 40k. Yeah, that's the thing about like Gorka Morka mobs. As you go through the campaign, like your mob is gonna change. Some of your characters are gonna die. Some dudes are gonna get like lose an eye and get a head wound. Like some dudes are gonna go to the docks and get a bionic arm, so you're gonna have to like chop off his arm and give him a bionic arm. You know what I mean? So if we were doing that at the next War Boss meet, you would literally have to bring a thing of bits with you, and then, you know, you'd have to have an orc fort, so you could do like the fort scenario. You'd have to have enough terrain to be able to do the rolling road. You can play like big games with multiple players in it as well, so you could you could have loads of fun. I reckon we'd have more fun playing Gorka Morka than we would 40k. Just because it's a sort of a campaign setting. Mind you, Blood Bowl would be fun as well. If we did a Blood Bowl campaign, that'd be good crack. A whole season. But how many matches is a whole season of like Blood Bowl though? That's the only thing. Would you manage to get most of them in? But I definitely think like Gorka Morka is a good format for like a bosses meet, because you could have, you know, mob ratings and who's the highest rank mob and which boss. You know what I mean? That would be fun. We are nearly there on the old base coating. Still trucking away. So we haven't even got to the Castellan Green yet. Oh, we've 40 minutes. We're doing all right. We're going until 11. We've another 40 minutes left. I think we'll get the Castellan Green done. I think so. I think we have it in our time frame. So that's not bad time management. If we manage to get the skin done tonight, base coats and wash, and then if we manage to get the Castellan Green on, base coat and green wash as well. So when we go for the wash, that we get the both of them. I think that's not bad going, man. We can try and get. Probably tomorrow. I'll be lucky if I can get an hour in, maybe. So what did I do stream-wise last night? 3 hours. 3 hours last night, 2 hours tonight. Just try to get the painting in, whatever. I mean, if I could get away with painting on the way into work on the bus, I would. But there's an awful lot of ramps between here and my workplace on the main roads, so I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't care about the weird looks. It'd be more the get the paint on. Get it on, you know. Get it on and get it done. That would be hilarious. How's everyone progressing? How are you all doing project-wise? He's getting a lot done. He's having fun. When you play it with bigger vehicles and bases, I suppose some of us will. I'd use the original bases. I wouldn't use 30. I'd use in Gorka Morka. I'd use a 32mm base for the knobs. So I think knobs look good on 32s. But the likes of boys, I'd put boys on 25s. I'm not changing my boys off of 25s. I don't give a shit what anyone says to me. You can get stuffed. If they don't like it, they don't have to play me. But the grots you can put on like the old Gorka Morka bases as well. I think there's even like 3D files of those bases. They're really small. They are like super small. But it'll be cool. Helpful if I didn't rub the paint off. You know? You could just do a small league for Blood Bowl, all each player, each twice, then cup for run-up for winners. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, you could do. I do have a Blood Bowl team, they're not painted. And at the pace of painting that I'm doing now, there is absolutely no way I'm going to get a Blood Bowl team done. I mean, unless I brought paints with me to the Warboss meetup and we didn't play Blood Bowl until like the second or third night. Maybe then, but otherwise, no. Not a bleeding chance. Not a hope in hell. I'm looking to bring some Battletech stuff. I'll see if I can get an arena for us to play on. So we can do sort of a free-for-all combat. If I can manage that, that'd be good crack. But I have to be wary of weight, how much stuff I'm bringing with me. You know, I need to bring like a week's worth of socks and jocks. And then miniatures as well. I was even looking at redoing the ballast on the base of these guys. I have like little 5-cent coins, which are the size I think of English pennies. But thinking of upping them and putting in washers, because I can get 2 washers in just for the ballast. Because there's 1 or 2 of them that are leaning pretty forward on their bases. Like they're very dynamic, but like the center of gravity is very forward on them. I don't know how people manage to get it done with the old Torded guys because they're metal. I mean, if you go straight up, maybe, but they, they seem more susceptible to being knocked over because they're metal. Their center of gravity would be more forward again. But I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it would be hard to execute. Definitely doable. If I was doing this again, I would not be doing 30 of them at once. I would probably paint 5 at a time. Buy a box, paint them up. I suppose the benefit you have of buying multiple boxes at once, like getting an army box, like that Stomper box maybe, like that new mech box would be perfect if it had the old boys in it instead of the new boys, because then you'd be spoiled for bits. Like you'd have Luda, Borna bits, boys bits. Like if you had an army box like that, right, and then you bought 5 Stormboyz, you'd have some bits to add in to give yourself a bit of variation. You know what I mean? Instead of just using Stormboy bits all the time. So, chop a hand off here, replace it with a different weapon, put a different pistol in the hand there. Maybe make a cut in the shoulder. Give yourself a bit more variation in the pose, or a bit more dynamism. Make it more dynamic. Worst case scenario, I have some painted commandos if you need them. Ah, Jesus. I should have painted commandos. I mean, there's commandos here, but well, I think I'll soldier on. We'll get there. We'll get there, Si. We'll get there. I have boys units painted up in camo colors, so you can always proxy stuff or whatever, or use boys. This is the thing with my armies, because they're all blood axes and they're all in camouflage. A lot of them look like commandos, and then I do have some commandos already, like the old ones. I think I have all the iterations of commandos. So I've got like the second ed ones. I've got the 4th edition ones. I think they were 4th. Yeah, they came out in City Fight in 4th edition. That was the commando I just picked up there. The last metal ones we had. They were 4th edition. And now I've got these guys are the new commandos, which came out in that Kill Team box. So I have all the commandos. They look cool. So they do. We're nearly there. It's the final countdown. Oh, don't be singing now. Get yourself an L copyright strike. Now having fun. Jesus, I could do with a bleeding cider, mind you. Poor throat's getting parched. We are on to not our last Stormboy skin to be done, but our second last. This one we missed the base cut on, so I'll go back and do that by hand. But we're on our second last Stormboy. Ooh, Skin color wise, skin base color wise, we are getting there, boys. We are getting there. Now we're shucking diesel. I'm pretty tidy on the paint jobs as well. Not a bad pace. I'm quite happy. At the pace of painting. We're getting base coats going. I've not lost the will to live yet. I'm still Still chugging away, so the momentum's there, the pressure's there. You know what I mean? The motivation is still there, so we're capitalizing. I haven't crashed yet. I'm still just about functioning. I'm getting just about enough sleep to keep me going. We'll go mad. We'll go mad on the weekend. We'll do like we'll do a mad run on the weekend. But then it's also about pacing yourself. You don't want to be painting for too long. And then you get so tired that you start making mistakes. There's nothing worse than that. We don't want to be getting to that stage, so managing it correctly is also key. I wonder if you'd be able to paint like 1,000-point army in 24 hours. Like if you just had 24 hours or 12 hours or whatever, like solid. I think the main problem that I have is those smoke plume effects. They look class, but they took up a fair old chunk of time. They took a weekend in and of themselves to do. And there was no slouch with them either. That was a lot of painting. That was an awful lot of painting. So I was saying, Dread will use a battle wagon as a truck. Yeah, well, as always, nothing new there. All I can remember is the tiny oval bases and my models falling off the vehicles. Yeah, the little sort of Gorka Morka bases. The small oval ones. And your metal miniatures falling off the vehicles all the time. Did not help. They were forever falling over. So people would build bigger vehicles. But then bigger vehicles were easier to hit with the grenades because, of course, there's grenades. Essex says he has 11 teams painted and ready to go. Grand. Well, bring an Ork one for me. I like an Ork team. 4 Blitzers. I think it's 3 or 4 Black Orks. A Thrower and the rest are linemen. But I would definitely get a game in. Sure, why not? But yeah, I need to figure if I can pack this arena in. I managed to get it back from the UK and hand dug it, so I don't see why I wouldn't be able to get it over again. Nicely painted up by my mate Lorcan. Did a cracking paint job of it. Looks really good. We had it out at Leprechaun. We were doing a big arena fight. So I don't see why we can't do another arena fight at the boss meet. It'll be fun. You know, I'm trying to get the video edited and sorted if we're bothering with a video for it out sooner rather than later. And for the love of God, we're not letting Dread edit the videos this time around. It took him like, what, a year and a half? Was it like a year and a bit later, wasn't it? It's only this year the War Boss vid came out, wasn't it? Like, it's been that long since we met up. I'm starting to lose track of bleeding time now. Mind you, I'm starting to lose track of the days of the week with all this painting. I'm like, I keep thinking it's Thursday. It's not Thursday, it's Wednesday. Keep thinking I'm ahead of myself. But it's alright, we've time. We have time, folks. We've time to get the paint going. Don't stop me now. I'm the same. Have all the iterations of Commandos painted up. Well, at least you have them painted up. Jesus, fair play to you. Second, fourth, and the latest. Nice. With the contrast paint, you could deal 1k army in 12 hours, I reckon. I suppose you could, yeah. Don't see why you wouldn't. I literally broke this guy off of his bamboo skewer that I had him on just to put him on the smoke plume to pose him, because I'd realised I had actually glued all 30 of them onto bamboo skewers just to be able to airbrush them. And then I was like, I want to take a picture with all of these nice plumes done. So I did snap this guy off. The problem was, in doing that, I then forgot about him when I was doing the base coating. So this guy's got all the... He's got all the masking putty, which is good. It's a good product, Mr. Masking Sol. He's got all the masking putty still on him, but I didn't bother to give him the base coating. So I think I'll just take the masking putty off. And then this guy, I'll paint his camo by hand or whatever. There's just no point at this stage. I'm not cracking out the airbrush on these guys again. I've gotten what I could done with the airbrush done. It really helped pace wise. Like, I think if I didn't use the airbrush on the flying bases that on the smoke plumes, if I didn't use it on that I'd still be airbrushing them now and I'd be absolutely panicking. So I think it absolutely helped massively. Being able to prime all these guys and get like even just the core base color for the uniform on made a massive difference. Massive help. We're able to sort stuff out a hell of a lot easier. And look at his helmet there. There's a bit of the sprue. I wasn't too tidy cleaning this guy up. I must have built him 15 years ago because this time around I did a pretty tidy job of putting them together. So, give me a look at this helmet. We'll take him off. Boop. That needs to be cleaned. Look. Here we go. We haven't gotten around to painting the helmets yet, so it won't be too much of a hassle. Just take them off there. It'll be grand. I have mine and Dred's bat rep ready to go. Just waiting on Steve-O to upload his. What are these bat reps for? Were these ones you have played already? I mean, ideally you could have them release while we're away doing the game, and if you get me. I don't know if anybody else did as much painting as me for the event. I know I had a lot to paint up. And I had months to do it. I just chose to lose track of time as per normal. And then go from there. I suppose that's the only detriment I have to not living in the same country. In order to me to get a regular battle report in with any of you guys, I have to kind of fly in for a weekend and fly out again. Which is grand when we're doing a whole week's worth of events. You know, you're getting more bang for your buck, but not exactly the cheapest option if you're trying to do it on the regular, you know. I will be going to UK Games Expo. If anybody else is going, I will see you there. You'll be able to find me at the Catalyst Games Lab booth. I will be teaching people how to play Battletech or Leviathans, which is a airship combat game. I actually quite like it. It's pretty cool. Feel free to drop by and say hello. Get a free game tutorial. We will be there for the whole event. It'll be grey crack. Alright, that's his skin done. Don't forget the grot. Haha. There's other grots in jetpack intakes that I do. I think there's 2 more. This guy has one. Just let me quickly check, because I have a whole cup of these guys. I think there's only like 2 or 3 of them with the grots. Yeah, as their... Yeah, as the, like the pilots, their jetpack grots. Because I didn't do many of them the second time round. I know that specifically. So we've only got 2 of them with grots in their jetpacks. So as we were saying, is it Elysian Green? Yeah, Dead World Forest. I think it's Elysian Green. It's not Scarsnake, is it? No. Trying to figure out which one's to highlight here. No, that's too light. It's not Scarsnake. Or is it Lauren Forest? Is it that one? It's either that one or that one. I think it's Elysian Green. Is it? Ah, Jesus. I can't remember now. Whatever. They're being painted Elysian Green. Or is this one open? What about that one? Is that one open? This one's open. This is probably used. Straken Green. We've all these greens. I see, this is the problem. Like, if you don't write down what colours you did, you just bleed and lose track of what ones were used, which doesn't help the situation. Lauren Forest. I think it's Lauren Forest. I know what the final highlight is. I'm trying to figure out what the... Oh no, it's actually darker again. This? No, it's darker than this. Ah, look, whatever. These grots are going to be base coloured. This. Don't care. Boop. Yeah, that's a military green. That's the wrong green. I think this is like the highlight for the Castellan green. That is the wrong green. We should be using... Yeah, I think it's Elysian Green. We'll use Elysian Green. I mean, there's probably another pot of it somewhere that's already open. There is. Haha. I nearly had a second pot open there. Not today, Mother Trucker. Not today. Ta-da! Yes, it's Elysian Green. Right, so this is the base coat for the grots. You can see how that's more of a deeper sort of military colour. It's not what we want. So that means that the Elysian Green is the highlight for the boys. Does that make sense? That makes sense. Okay. Too many greens. That's what my problem is here. Way too many bleeding greens. Yeah, it was our warm-up game 2 months back. I was there last year playing in the Star Wars Legion tournament. Oh, okay. Very cool. So, this happy grot, who for some reason has his head like pointed way up, but whatever. Like, this is funny, but it makes no sense because he's literally like sitting in the air intake. Maybe I watered this down a bit too much, especially going over black, because he's literally sitting in the space where the intake would be. I don't know why I posed the head this way. I'd have to go back to 20-something-year-old me and have words with him about the posing of his miniatures. That needs another coat, I reckon. Yeah, it's a bit watered down, but whatever. We'll work with it. Don't know if he's got a headband on or if that's just across his eyes, or I'll have to figure that out. But whatever. Just get the base coat on. Base coat everywhere. How are we time-wise? We've 15 minutes left. Alright. Forgot his nose. Like the most predominant part of a grot when I forget to paint it. So this one's got a slightly different head. Now, so if I was building more of these and I was putting the grots in them, I would take some of the grot heads from the jets, maybe like the Daka jet or something, or I know there's more flying heads. That wouldn't be a bad idea. So I don't think we're going to get the Castellan green done tonight, but hey, we got the base coat of the orc skin flesh on, which is progress. Happy with that. That is indeed progress. And any progress is better than none. Gets us one step closer to our painted Stormboy units. And sure, why not? I think I might throw some onto the commandos while I have paint on the palette there. Why wouldn't I? And we'll come back and we'll give these grots a second layer because it's a very light colour over a black base. So, while the commandos are here, and while the paint is still wet, we're gonna get some base coating done on them. In our last 13 minutes of stream, we might as well get some paint on these boys. Well, it's there to be used. Don't want to go wasting it. The stuff's not cheap. Jesus, how much is it for a pot of paint now? 3 quid 50, 4 quid something? Who bleeding knows? Arm and a bleeding leg. Boy Christ, it's not cheap. My local hobby store for the AK paint pots. So for these paint pots, I think they're €3.75 for these. So they're nearly 4 quid a pop. There's a whole range of them, but yeah, they're not cheap. You know, I don't think we're far off the days where we'll be paying a fiver for a paint pot, like the way things going the way they are. Jesus, not long to go. These were an absolute pain in the ass to put together. I didn't have any instructions for these, for the kill team. I'd lost the instructions from mine. Oh no, I think I gave the instructions away because they were part of the kill team box set. I gave the rest of the kill team box set away to my friend's nephew and his gaming club. Because I just wasn't enamored with kill team anymore. I didn't like the direction it was going in, but I was happy to hold on to the commandos. Because, you know, blood axe. Why wouldn't I? So, I held on to the commandos and I held on to the Yorkie terrain. Because that's what I really wanted out of that box. If you get me. His neck is done. Like, these small heads are weird, man. I don't like the direction they're going with these, like, smaller heads. Just to make the rest of them look bigger. I'm not a massive fan of the new design of sculpts. Like, some of them look really good, but the general aesthetic, like the Commando knob, he looks good. Like, he's got a decent gob on him and a decent chin. Like, that new mech, holy Jesus, that new mech. The pointy chinned mech. That's not an orc, man. What the hell? What's going on, GW? Have you forgotten what your 40k orcs look like? Jesus. Sacrilege. This is really cool sculpt, this one. I really like the knob for the commandos. I think it's a really good sculpt. I wouldn't want more than one. But then, look, that's the same for most of the commando iterations. But this guy's really good. This is a really decent sculpt. Bit naked for my likings, you know, the naked torso. Would have preferred if he was more sort of armoured up and, if you get me, like up to his teeth in gear. I like the old commando knob. Like the metal one with the power claw where he sort of stands on the step, isn't he? And he's got a cigar in his gob, I think, if I remember correctly. And there's the grot. I think the grot's in his backpack. Like that's a really nice sculpt as well. I rather like that sculpt. That's pretty class. And this one looks really good. So happy days, no complaining there. But some of the other boys out of the squad are a bit they're a bit hit and miss. Some of them are definitely better sculpts than others. It all just depends, really. How are these more of a pain in the ass to paint than the old sculpts? That's just weird. It's weird, man. They're not as smooth, or maybe it's because the detail is more chunky. These guys are more sort of, there's more finesse to them, they're more defined. Maybe that's what it is. It's like painting a different, painting for a different war game, you know what I mean? Compared to what I'm used to. Mind you, not that I'm that used to painting. Let's be honest here. Trying to make scratch build def gun rattler cannons to put under my stubby wings. Might add a couple of rockets too. Space dependent. Yeah, definitely, man. Like if I was doing the bombs for the Chinook Copta, I'd get those comically large bombs from the Daka Jet kit, and I'd stick them underneath. Just because they're ridiculously sized, it would be hilarious. You know? Either that or make barrel bombs for it. So barrels with like TNT strapped to them, and that seems like the sort of thing that a copter would drop. Just a barrel packed full of TNT and all manner of scrap, and Jesus, good luck to you. May not kill a lot of Marines, but boy, Jesus, if that went off in a unit of boys or Imperial Guard, it would shred them. You know? I've seen people do some really nice effects with the joints, where the flesh joins into the metal. You know, they'll do like bruising, that sort of painting, and get some really decent effects. But as I keep saying, speed is of the essence for us. We are going for base coats. Going for broke. Ain't no stopping us. We have one of our knobs. Hey! This is one of our knobs from the Knob Squad that I converted this guy a long time ago for Shadow War Armageddon. That's the box that he came out of. That's how old this guy is. So you're going back before they even started to re-release Necromunda. I think it's like 2015, 2016. I very recently gave him a cigar in his gob upon request from Sci-Fi. So that's a green, you can't even really see it. That's a green stuff cigar in his gob. We have 6 minutes left and we're going. We're born in the midnight oil. We're definitely going to finish this guy off. And then I reckon that's going to be it for us. But yeah, this is an old conversion. So the beret that I have on this guy, I green stuffed it on. The little sort of skull. You can't really see it yet, but there's a skull symbol on his hat. A little orky skull. That's literally like a bit of cardboard that I carved out. Really, really small. It's a little bit of cardboard. You know what I'll do? I'll pick it out in... What colour will I pick it out in? I'll do like a light grey just to pick it out. Just to show you. Because it's just so small. It's a little tiny detail. So just to sort of show you. Like, I carved this out of... Oh, that's way too much paint. Carved this out of cardboard. So that's cardboard. Detail's not coming up great here. If I hold it closer and then change the focus, you can dial it in. So that little sort of skull, that's a bit of cardboard that's had super glue put in it. But his beret is green stuffed. Like his big shooter, that's a big shooter backpack. And then like a belt. And then obviously he's spent a load of cartridges. And then he's got like a cigar in his gob, so just a bit of fun. You know yourself. Bit of crack. The knob head in the new boys is proper weird. You get two options for the top half of the face and one option for the mouth area. You must use an iron gob because the jaw is attached to it. That's just weird, man. That's like counterintuitive in my eyes for conversions. You know what I mean? That just goes against the orky hobby culture, having the gob attached. Like, for some of them, from what I understand, you're nearly better off building the miniature and then chopping it up to try and get conversions in. So if I was saying those big bombs would hit the ground before the skids, it would wobble. Yeah, exactly. It'd be hilarious. They'd have to get a running start. You'd have to put skids on the bombs as they would be the landing gear while they're attached. Do you not think that would be funny? I think that would be hilarious, man. I should be base coating this guy a darker colour because he is a knob. I've just realised that. And so is the other one. But whatever. We're just going to put this on and go with it. Is there more boys? Yes, okay. We'll stop painting that knob. We'll go with boys. The knobs should be a darker colour. That's what I get for not paying attention. Now, I don't know if they're decent in game, but because this is the only new commando unit that I have, I basically give this unit all of the special weapons. So, like, they have the rocket, they have, like, the bleeding sonic weapon or whatever. They've got, like, the little battering ram weapon as well. I basically give these guys, because they're the new kids on the block with all the shiny toys, I give them all the shiny toys. Now, whether you can do that in game or not, I don't know. Or whether they're decent in game or not, I don't really care. I'm just looking for a rule of cool, man. Does it look cool? Yes, that's all that matters to me. Like converting those Stormboyz by the meta, gameplay-wise, like if you were going to a tournament, you're absolutely shafting yourself because of line of sight. But I don't care. It's a cool conversion. You know? It's a really sweet conversion. And they look amazing. And that's the important thing for me. Does it look cool? Yes, that's all that matters. Really cool, folks. Don't let a rule set dictate how you're going to build and paint your miniatures. Do what you want. Have your own sort of creative freedom. Break free from the shackles of your oppressors. Hooray. Green, 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 green everywhere, man. I don't know if we'll have... we have a minute left, so we'll get enough green on this guy. And then we'll finish up this stream. Tomorrow's Thursday night, like I said, with some Lev games. I might see if I can get an hour stream in. I doubt it. Don't depend on it. There might be a surprise stream tomorrow, but 90% there isn't going to be. So we'll see how it goes. His face is totally enclosed. We don't need to put more in. Or will we keep going? Will we keep going? Will we keep going? Will we keep painting? Will we keep base counting? Are we going to keep base counting until all of the commandos are done? Is that what's going to happen here? I get the feeling that's what it's going to... Look at how thick this plonker's neck is. Look at the bleeding size. Look at this. Look at how much neck there is on this guy. Like, he's more neck than bleeding head. What the hell? These are just weird, man. Weird, man. They're just weird miniatures. I don't like the new direction of the aesthetic, but hey ho, that's just my objective opinion. You don't have to agree with me. You might love the direction they're going in. That sort of pinhead, roid rage look that tries to make the orcs look chunky without changing the scale of them. So I understand why they're doing it. I just don't like the execution, man. I am not a fan of it. They no longer kind of look like 40k orcs to me. They're starting to deviate away from what I think a 40k orc looks like. Do you know what I mean? Like, I reckon if I stopped playing for 5 years and came back and looked at what they're using for a lot of their miniatures, like, I look at some of the Age of Sigmar stuff and I am like, this doesn't even look like Warhammer to me anymore. You know, they used to have... GW used to have an in-house aesthetic with their sculptors, but since they've gone over to the digital format more and more, and they're moving away from that traditional sort of hand-sculpted metal miniatures and like the house aesthetic that they have for digital sculpting, I'm just not a fan of it. It's very, very toy-like, if you get me. Like, it's very, very bubbly, very, if you get me. I find it hard to describe. It's like it lacks texture. It lacks finesse to it, or character. There's a lack of character in the sculpting. You know? It's very run-of-the-mill now. Like, it looks like it could be a totally different game. Maybe more video game-like is the term I'm trying to get to. Yeah, it's weird. It's multi-part face. Yeah, that's just odd, man. It's really odd. Like I said, I lost the instructions for this, and I literally had to ask one of my mates, Nick. Fair play to you, Nick. Literally had to ask for a copy of some instructions, because I looked at the sprue and I was like, sweet mother of Jesus. I mean, I love that they're absolutely packed with detail now, these new sprues. They're absolutely chock full of detail. I think that's great. But I think that's about the only sort of positive comment I have about them. Because I don't know what software they're using to assign bits to get them all on, but they're all over the place as well. So they're not all on the same sprue. So I take this arm from over here and attach it to this from the other sprue, and it's like, but there's an arm beside this arm. You know what I mean? It's very counterintuitive from the way that we would have done. But I do like that they are actually packed with more detail, and that there was bits left over as well. So, you know, there were some knives, there were some knife arms left over. There was a good bit of detail. But like, some of the legs don't connect with other legs, so you have to be very careful about which leg you attach to which body, because it may only connect with one body. You know, I built, what was it? I think it was a Mechanicus. I had some Mechanicus. I think it was another Kill Team. Was it the first Kill Team box when they started redoing them? I think there was a Mechanicus. Yeah, it was like I think it was the Mechanicus against the Orcs or something like that. Just, I'm trying to remember. Anyway, when I was building those guys, they were a pain in the ass as well, because it was like each body could only go with each torso, and you could easily put the wrong ones in. And while it might work for one miniature, when you then go to the point where you're left with those spare bits to make another miniature, it's like it just won't sit together. So there's a lot of, they've made building their miniatures more of a hassle unnecessarily in my eyes. Like, there's no need for them to be as much of a pain in the ass as they are, especially for like the, you know, the multi-part plastic that they are. You think there'd be more creative freedom, but there's less, which seems counterintuitive to me, you know? It seems odd. So that's 1, 2, 3 knobs. They're knobs out of the knob squad. That's the knob from the commandos. We've 3 commandos done. We've 4 commandos based, skins based. And we've 5 left over. And then that knob will need to be redone. But we're slowly getting there. I have that set all clipped off and in a baggie. Oh, well, the Kill Team set? Yeah. There's a few. Like, when Kill Team first came out, I made a couple of Kill Teams. I think of an Iron Warriors one. I made, like, a Chaos Cultists one as well. So I have a load of Chaos Cultists. I think I got them off of... one of the board games. Was it Assassinorum Execution Force or something? Something like that. It was like the one where the assassins came out. It was a board game that was like 80 quid. And it came with 4 assassins, right? And the assassins themselves, when they were going to be released, were 20 quid a pop. So you basically bought this board game for the cost of the assassins. And you got like all the cultists, the board game itself, a Chaos Lord in Terminator armor, and then all the push fit Chaos Terminators. They were all basically for free. Yeah. And I think that was the first way you could get the new sort of assassin sculpts then. Now we're talking like 2015 or something like that. So I had a load of cultists from that box set. And I like the idea of like a Chaos Warrior being the leader of a warband. You know what I mean? Like them being, you know, a champion in the eyes of the cultists, where they'd go on planet and start some rebellion and rise up with all their little cultist dudes. Like, yeah, I think you used to be able to do it with like the Eye of Terror Codex back in the day, where you can have a Chaos Aspiring Champion as your HQ, and then you'd have a load of like Traitor Imperial Guard and all this type of stuff. You know what I mean? Where one Chaos Space Marine champion, who's pretty lowly in the grand scheme of things in a Chaos army, is actually like the main character of an upstart army. You know what I mean? Like, they'd be off spreading the scent. I like that. It's very narrative. You know what I mean? Based in the lore. And then I like chaff armies anyway, so, you know, loads of chaff cultists he would not care about. At all. Like, that just seems like a cool idea to me. I did an Iron Warriors one as well, so we had like a Chaos Cultist one, being led by a few Chaos Warriors. Then I did like an Iron Warriors one, just because I like the look of Iron Warriors. And what else did I do? We had an Orc one. I think that's it. We had a few of them. Like 2 or 3. Not too many. I didn't go too crazy. Oh, yeah, and we had like the Mechanicus one. But I wasn't too enamored with that one. And this whole thing of having to collect cards and specific scenario cards that were only in certain box sets. Like, there's all this sort of, you need this card for this kill team, but it only comes in the kill team box, even though you already have the miniatures for the kill team. Like, that sort of paywall shite. I got very sick of that very quickly. That annoyed me. And then this whole circle, square, triangle shite, and we're changing the rules again, and it's like, oh, I got sick of the churn with Kill Team. It's like, oh, there's a new version now and a new rule book, and I'm like, but hold on, I've barely used the previous rule book. You know what I mean? I think that's my problem, is I don't play Games Workshop games enough to justify buying the rule sets. You know what I mean? Like, they change too much for the pace at which I get to play them. I'm a casual gamer. I don't play war games all the time. Like, I play BattleTech every couple of weeks, if I'm lucky. But like, BattleTech doesn't change, man. Like, if it's been a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, like, the core of the BattleTech rule set is still the same. Whereas with 40k, if it's been like 4 months and I come back to play a game, it's like, Jesus, could be totally changed. Commandos, old habits, clipping off all the bits and assuming I can just build them without instructions. I mean, I nearly did the same myself, Tommy. I nearly did exactly the same myself. I was like, ah, sure, I'll just clip them off and put them in a baggie because you're so used to doing that. Like that is literally just an old habit. Because like, look, this is like even this box set. This is all the offcuts of the Stormboyz, and there's some knobs in there and stuff like that. Where so it's not the end of the world because you can just pick the knob body and then just find shoulder pads and. You know what I mean? I think that's like a pointing arm off of I think it's the battle wagon pointing arm. So then, chop that hand off, put a gun on it, but it'll fit on most of the bodies, like, you know what I mean? So you can chop and change stuff, but that is, yeah. So that's a spare power claw from that Assassinorum box set that was starting to put on a knob, but I didn't finish up. But it's just, yeah, you could clip them off and have no problem. In fact, I think I was trying to do something like that. I think I was trying to do, like, that knob with the power claw and then give him like a fantasy orc iron gob head or something like that, you know what I mean? Like a mockery of Chaos Terminators, but not a Mega Knob. Well, maybe you could Mega Knob him up. But I just thought it'd be cool power claw where it's like a Chaos Lord's power claw from his Terminator armor where he's been beaten to a pulp and the orcs have taken all the shiny gubbins on him and left him with nout. And probably use his skull as an ashtray now. Like, if that doesn't sound hilarious, I don't know what does. Especially in the 41st millennium. But yeah, we're going to truck on. I'm just going to get the base coats done on everyone, and then we're going to call it a night. So we'll wrap it up probably, I reckon. Yeah, no, well, we got 3 guys left after this. They had 10 minutes probably. I reckon 10 minutes. And then we're definitely wrapping it up because, boy Jesus, I've work early in the morning. Early in the morning. I hope you're all getting a decent amount of progress done as well. Sadly, something's wrong with my Discord and it's not working, but when I come back from the WA meets, when we're doing hobby hangouts, I will try and implement people doing their work in progress on the Discord and sharing that again, because it'd be fun to see what people have been working on and sharing. I know that's an aspect of the hobby hangouts that folks miss, what other people have been working on whilst hobbying away. So I'll look to try and implement that when I get back. But it won't be this time around. As I said, I've had problems with Discord, but we'll chop and change things. I need to find the trailer for my channel again at the start of my videos. I did think I had it in a drive, but I don't think I do. So I need to find that again. And get a bit more technical with the live hobby hangouts, because I could probably deal with a new webcam as well at some stage, something a bit more focused in. I'd like a 4K one ideally, or use Droid Cam with a phone, get a better image, because this all C920, what it's useful is it's not great. It's not still focused. Where's the focal point on this? It's not. See what I mean? It's like, where's the focal point? But yeah, a nice cam would be cool. But I'm not spending crazy like the people buying DSL cameras or whatever to do streams. It's like, mate, my painting's not that good. You don't really need to see it that crisp in detail. Trust me. It's not that decent. In fact, you're probably better off not getting detail that good. But, you know, at some stage, we're going to have to get a better camera, I reckon. These C920s would probably be good for battle reports, like overheads. Or dice trays, that sort of thing, you know what I mean? Just covering dice trays and dice rolls for a battle report. But, see, most of the Borno guy is skin. I like this one. I like this guy with the hat. He's really cool. I know most of him is in like a boiler suit or whatever, so there's not much There's not much skin colour to be painted, in fairness. And I like his woolly hat. I think I'd do that in red. Nice red woolly hat. So that's one of the better sculpts. I like this sculpt. This one has a decent bit of character. And his gun's pretty cool. He's got a swanky tri-barrel gun. Yeah. That looks like it would pump out a shed load of shots. Some proper deca. And of course the blood axe symbols. Can't go wrong with decent blood axe symbols. Your blood axe commandos. I'm actually pretty happy that like my sort of clan's unit is commandos. Well chuffed with that. I know back in the day that each clan did have their own sort of unit, so you had like snake bite boar boys, boar riders. But thankfully the blood axe commandos have stuck around through the years. They're still here. Look at this. Look at the bleeding neck on this. Holy Jesus. They're just weird sculpts. It's a different style. Like, it's really odd. Like, some of the Age of Sigmar stuff that they've sculpted as well, I'm just like, what in the... What? I'm not a fan of a lot of this stuff. Like, some of the old Warhammer Fantasy metal sculpts, some of them are absolutely amazing. They look absolutely cracking. Problem you have is GW doesn't do metal anymore. They do failcast, and I've never liked failcast. There was a product that was pushed out too soon, and you know, horror stories of having people leaving their miniatures in their cases in cars, and the cars got too hot in the summer and they all warped and melted or whatever. Or people leave them on window sills and they warped there as well. So it's like, ugh. Yeah, I'm sure they've probably fixed those problems, but I'm not willing to gamble on it. I will not be buying failcast characters, I can tell you that much. Better things to be spending me money on, like mechs. Lots of battle mechs. Boxes of battle mechs. Same price I'd spend on a character, I can buy a lance or a star. You know, that's a whole unit. That's a game right there. So it's all about a bang for your buck. Obviously, different people have different tastes, so happy with different game sets. But I like the aesthetics of the orcs. I mean, apart from the new sculpts and direction they're going in. But I like 40k orcs, like the setting for them. I like a lot of the classic miniatures that they have for them. I have enough miniatures that if like they totally changed the whole line, I'd be happy just working away myself with what bits I have left. You know what I mean? Easily keep me entertained for the next 20 years or 30, especially at the pace I paint. Jesus, that's me set for a lifetime. I've enough of them. But yeah, even if it totally changes, it won't be the end of the world. Just have fun doing conversions and kit bashes and playing games with me mates. That's what it's all about now. I can't really see myself ever just rocking into a Games Workshop and getting in a casual game. I just don't think that would be me. Is this guy bare-chested as well? Jesus, they like their old bare-chested orcs now. Paint their bleeding skin. This is Scuba Steve, is it? I think this one's Scuba Steve. But yeah, I can't see myself like rocking into a game store and just casually playing, getting a pickup game, because you just, when it comes to 40k, I think you have to be so careful with who you're playing with. If they have the same mentality as you, and you know what I mean, you're gonna have fun with them, or because you don't want to risk you know, having a bad game. Oh, that sounds terrible, but it's... I'm going to be spending 2.5 hours, 3 hours of my life playing a game, and like I want to have fun and be entertained and have the crack with someone. You know what I mean? I'm not there just to show up and get absolutely tabled and hammered and then just be another notch in their victory belt. I'm like, that does not sound fun to me at all. And I know 40k as a rule set is kind of susceptible to that still. Which does not sound fun to me. I have better ways of spending my evenings than doing that, so. But if I'm playing games with mates, I know I'll have a laugh. Like with the war bosses. Be good crack. I'll be honest, I wish part of me wishes we were just playing like another mega battle, because I really enjoyed the last one and it was great fun. But I think we'll have a laugh doing the lake. I love the old mega battles though. You know what I mean? I'd like to do another mega battle eventually where there's everyone brings a super heavy unit or something. You know, you might actually see units that are crap in the meta on the table then, you know. Could you imagine we all had a Stompa each or something, or Dean brings his Gargantuan Squigot, Steve-O finishes his Battle Fortress. Like, we've so many classic miniatures as well, like. Sid and Clint, you know, I could see those lads building stuff up. Dread has his kill tank. Sure, Jesus, he's already doing that. There's no stopping him. And then me, what would I bring? I have a Forge World Stompus stashed away somewhere. The one with the belly gun and the lift the dropper arm and the claw. I've one of them. Myself and Cy bought one years ago. 10 years ago now, Cy, I think. Was it 10 years ago? Probably 10 or 8 years ago, Cy. That's how long ago it's been since we bought them. Right when the Forge World website changed. And they had them priced incorrectly. They had them priced cheaper at the cost of the ones without the belly guns. So me and Cy rocked into the store and went, what's the store with your prices? And the dude's like, oh, well, that it is what it is. So me and Sci-Fi were like, we'll have one each, please. And that's how I ended up with a Forge World Stompa. That's still in the packaging, but we'll get there. A lot of the Forge World units that I have are still in the packaging, and they're out of production, half of them. I still have like a Borna bomber. Or I still have a fighter bomber in its packaging. That needs to be painted. But there we go, folks. We ran 23 minutes over the time we were expecting to have. We have our 10 commandos, the skin done. We have all 30 of our Stormboyz. We have the skin done on them. So that's not bad going. And then the plan is to get some Castellan Green sorted on the Stormboyz next. If we get the Castellan Green done, then we can do a green wash on the skin and the Castellan Green area, so the backpacks and their feet. And sure, Jesus, we'll be halfway there then. We'll be most of the way there. So thanks for joining in. Like the video if you've not already liked. It helps with the old algorithm. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And we'll catch you in the next one, which may or may not be tomorrow. More than likely not tomorrow, but we'll definitely be streaming from Dimsgaff on the weekend. We have lots of orcs to paint and not much time to do. It's not quite Panic Stations, but we're getting there. Thanks for joining in, folks. We'll catch you again tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. We'll catch you on the weekend. Take it easy. Good night, and thanks for joining in.